Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're breaking down the reality behind a highly misunderstood yet incredibly popular training tool, the dog whistle. You've probably seen them at the local pet store, or at least in an old movie, and wondered if they actually work, or if the whole thing is just a gimmick. Well, we're going to break down exactly what the science and everyday practice have to say about this fascinating little device. So let's just go ahead and tackle that classic movie trope right out of the gate. You know the scene. A character blows into a tiny metal tube, you don't hear a thing, and suddenly a pack of dogs comes sprinting from miles away, perfectly obedient. It basically paints these tools as silent, magical remote controls for our pets. But spoiler alert, that is definitely not how they work in the real world. Like absolutely any training aid, their success comes down to consistency, proper training, and setting some realistic expectations. Here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, we'll bust the silent whistle myth. Then, how it actually works. Next, voice versus whistle. After that, step-by-step training, and finally, the bottom line. Section 1. The silent whistle myth. Are these things actually silent? Get a load of this massive number, 22,000 to 35,000 hertz. That represents the high-frequency range pumped out by most commercial dog whistles on the market today. The only reason they're famous for being silent is simply because that frequency range sits just above the natural hearing limit of most human adults. But because dogs have a much broader hearing range than we do, they can detect those super high-frequency sounds with absolute ease. And honestly, the concept of silent is pretty relative. Our hearing naturally declines as we age. Because of that, a teenager, or anyone with really exceptional hearing, might actually wince at a faint hiss or a high-pitched squeal, while an older adult standing right next to them thinks it's a broken toy. Plus, not all whistles are even meant to be ultrasonic. A lot of models are intentionally designed to produce sounds that both humans and dogs can hear, which is actually a super popular choice for trainers who want to be able to hear the signal themselves.
All right, Section 2, how it actually works. It all comes down to associative learning.
Here's the absolute most crucial point of all. Dogs do not pop out of the womb pre-programmed to know what a high-frequency whistle means. A dog whistle has zero special power on its own. It's literally just a unique sound cue. The secret sauce is the power of associative learning. By pairing that neutral sound with a behavior and a reward over and over again, your dog eventually connects the dots. And you can use that associative learning to signal all sorts of actions. Recall, come when called, is definitely one of the most common, but you can also use it to tell your dog to stop and look at you, to sit, to stay, or to return from a really great distance. Eventually, with enough practice and positive reinforcement, hearing the whistle becomes just another command cue. To their brain, it registers exactly the same as you simply saying the words sit or come.
Moving on to Section 3, voice versus whistle. Now you might be thinking, why bother? Why shouldn't I just rely on my own voice?
Well, there's actually a pretty stark contrast between you and this little metal tool. Think about human voices. They are incredibly complex, and they constantly change depending on our mood, our excitement, or our stress levels. If you accidentally sound frustrated during training, that can really confuse a dog. A whistle, on the other hand, it delivers the exact same neutral, emotionless cue every single time. It's incredibly clear and consistent. Plus, a whistle can usually be heard over much greater distances than a human voice, which is exactly why it's a total game changer for hunters, herders, and anyone doing outdoor dog sports. Also, think about your environment. Busy parks, crowded beaches, windy hiking trails, it gets incredibly loud out there. A whistle cuts right through all that background noise way better than a spoken command ever could. When you're in a highly distracting outdoor setting, having that sharp, consistent acoustic signal is just a massive advantage for keeping your communication crystal clear.
Okay, Section 4, step-by-step whistle training.
The good news is almost any healthy dog can learn this, and the process breaks down into 4 really straightforward steps. First, pick one meaning. Start by assigning one whistle signal to one specific behavior, like recall, since that is such a vital safety skill. Second, timing is everything. Blow the whistle, then, boom, immediately reward your dog with a treat or praise when they do the action. Third, start small. Practice in a low distraction zone, like your living room or a fenced yard, before you graduate to a busy park. And fourth, stay consistent. The whole household needs to use the whistle the exact same way, or your dog is just going to be confused. But hey, let's be realistic for a second. Dog whistles aren't a silver bullet for every situation, and they will absolutely fail if we ignore the context. The whistle won't do a thing if the dog has zero prior training with the sound. Again, not magic. It's also going to fail if the dog is super fearful, or if the distractions around them are just way beyond their current training level.
And naturally, if a dog suffers from significant hearing loss, they're going to struggle with high frequencies. You'd need to adapt and use visual cues instead. It's an awesome tool in your toolkit, but it's not a magical substitute for actually building a relationship with your pet.
Which brings us to Section 5, the bottom line.
The big takeaway here is that a whistle is, at the end of the day, just a communication tool. The real magic, that is entirely in your dedication to the training process. These things work because dogs learn through repetition, consistency, and positive reinforcement. Whether you end up using a high-frequency whistle, a normal audible one, or just stick to your standard voice commands, the recipe for success is identical. It just takes a little time and patience.
So think about your own setup, your environment, your dog's unique personality, and your own consistency. Ultimately, the question isn't really whether a whistle works, it's whether you're ready to put in the reps to make it work. So which cue are you going to choose to build a stronger connection with your dog today? Keep that in the back of your mind before your next trip to the park. Thanks for tuning into this explainer.